Second Lieutenant Tanya Degurichov commands the 3rd Platoon of the Imperial Army's 205th Assault Mage Company, along with Corporal Victoria Serebriakov. The Empire is a fierce military power fighting a war on multiple fronts. Failing their execution of Plan 315, establishing a small border base, pushing the enemy line back, but reinforcements aren't coming. They're stuck in the Northern Theater, pinned down by enemy fire. Tanya orders her troops to stand down, but 2 of her subordinates refuse. Irritated, she removes them from the front lines and assigns them to the rear guard. The enemy mages launch an artillery assault on Imperial observers, taking prisoners. Instead of immediately volunteering to rescue her comrades, Tanya admits rescue isn't always feasible. She explains that Victoria is too tired to undertake the mission. Despite this, the corporal volunteers. Tanya can't refuse. They run into a company of enemy mages on their way. She tells her troops that she'll take them on alone. She can't have them die and ruin her chance at early retirement. Tanya's eyes turn gold, and she flies to an altitude of 10,000 feet, taking the mages out in one blow. Nobody is capable of that, at least as far as they know. The reports on the enemy side call her the Devil of the Rhine, though the Empire uses the moniker White Silver after she received the Silver Wings assault badge. But Lieutenant Colonel Raregan believes she's a monster. A field report denotes the death of the 2 soldiers Tanya removed from the front lines. When Victoria goes to inquire, she's met with an appropriately devilish grin. In 2013, a salaryman from Tokyo who works in HR must fire an incompetent employee. This only fosters resentment in the man. As the HR rep catches the train after work, he finds himself suddenly lurching forward towards the tracks while the train approaches. Time grows slower, stopping altogether. He recognizes the man he fired as his aggressor, as the frozen crowd on the platform begins speaking directly to him. At first, he dismisses it as some phenomenon experienced right before death. He doesn't believe in a higher power. Questioning the entity about whether they fancy themselves a god or a devil gets him nowhere. It doesn't matter to someone void of faith. He decides to refer to them as Being X. The entity gives him another chance at life, if only to find faith and acknowledge them as something akin to a deity. Being X decides to force him to face hardship to gain his loyalty. The salaryman is reincarnated as Tanya, a baby girl located in an analog to a European country in 1913. Tanya joins the military at the age of 9 after discovering she has a talent for magic while growing up in an orphanage. She has an aptitude as a soldier, and her talent is quickly recognized. She's put in charge of training new students, though her reputation of being cruel and unusual spreads fast, going so far as to throw a student through a wall during training. During maneuvers at the Northern Theater garrison, Tanya comes face to face with the Entente Alliance scouts as they begin their invasion of the Empire. She begins laughing. This is her chance to go out in a blaze of glory and retire. She takes out most of the mages with a crazed look in her eyes, ditches her weapon, hugs one of the soldiers, and forces her computation crystal to self-destruct. Despite her best efforts, she's awarded the Silver Wings Assault Badge and made a hero for the purpose of propaganda. At least she can avoid the front lines. After some time recovering, she's been reassigned, just as she hoped. Now she can avoid danger, until learning that she'll be testing a new computation jewel, the Elenium Type 95. Every test run ends in disaster. She might as well be fighting in the war. Her request to suspend the project gets accepted. That night, Being X visits her in the form of a nutcracker. She won't get off that easy. She dismisses it as a dream, but the next day, she finds a note reading Deus Lo Volt, God wills it. The testing is back on. The scientist behind it is now even more convinced of his invention. Apparently, he was visited by God the night before. During the test run, the jewel becomes unstable again. Suddenly, everything freezes as Being X gives her an ultimatum. If she prays every time the jewel is activated, everything will work out fine. She just needs a little faith and to swear absolute fealty to the one true God. It's 1924, and Tanya finds herself fighting on the front line once again, forcing herself to pray every time she uses the death sentence around her neck only furthers her desire to curse God and escape the battlefield. Tanya is given another chance when Victoria receives a promotion upon her recommendation. HQ allows her to leave once more to attend a military university. Tanya excels in her studies. Though paranoid, she still carries a rifle everywhere after 6 months, just in case Being X decides to show up. In the library, she meets General Zetor. He asks her to speak about the war and for her opinion of the direction it might take. Allowed to speak freely, she shares her concerns about the possibility of a world war breaking out. The general asks for a formal report of her prediction after she panics during questioning, trying to save face while staying away from the war. Putting together a rapid response team comprised of mages would take full advantage of their agility and firepower, avoiding casualties and allocating those resources elsewhere. Tanya runs into her captain at a cafe, glad to see him in the capital, though she's met with worry as he has a daughter roughly the same age. Zetor proposes the rapid response team's formation at a strategic headquarters conference, volunteering Tanya to lead the operation. Meanwhile, the lieutenant colonel, who refers to Tanya as a monster, receives the report regarding the World War. He immediately pegs her as the author, and the top brass believes that she's changed during her time at university. During dinner with Zetor, Tanya is offered multiple post-graduation opportunities, and she's presented with the option to head the new rapid response team, the 203rd. She becomes furious, knowing she's in no position to refuse. She can stall the process as long as possible, though. She puts out recruiting flyers that sound more like a warning, but still receives an unprecedented number of applications. At least she can take forever going through them, until Victoria walks through the door, assigned as her personal assistant. She's already enlisted extra help to get through the paperwork promptly, trying to avoid provoking the Devil of the Rhine's infamous demeanor. Tanya's requirements to qualify for the operation are too difficult for most, and her superiors demand she lower her standards to expedite the process. She agrees, but requests to retrain the soldiers, claiming she only needs 1 month, which is unheard of, and giving her free rein over their training. The regimen is so intense that she's confident nobody would be crazy enough to finish it, firing live mortars at them for 36 hours, before marching through knee-high snow for 48 hours, during which one trainee causes an avalanche while cursing the major. After that, she's convinced they'll cave. Well, that backfired. Again. They're now too terrified of her and too determined to overcome the impossible task. They receive an assignment from the lieutenant colonel, sending them to the southeastern front, mentioning she might want to learn Dacian before taking his leave. Her battalion of mages arrives to find an army looking like they're in the middle of a Civil War reenactment, without mages of their own or anything resembling a modern military. After a decisive victory, it's time to hit their capital. Before they destroy a munitions factory, Tanya upholds that they must follow international laws of engagement and declare their intentions. However, she uses the voice of a regular 10-year-old girl, which the citizens take as a joke. Their loss. They level the factory, successfully completing their mission. The higher-ups figure they can easily wipe Dacia from the map and look towards the fights on the other fronts. The coming winter could throw a wrench in their supply lines, a perfect job for Tanya's battalion, escorting trains while enemy mages ambush them. And they aren't alone. There's backup from an unidentified nation using mages and bombers. Tanya's anxieties about a full-on world war are looking more and more like a possibility. Tanya announces to her men that she refused backup, and when they win, drinks are on whoever's company contributes the least. They get eyes on the bombers, and more enemy mages approaching. The major claims the bombers for herself, while ordering her men to take care of the others. She successfully takes down some bombers, until they turn tail and run. Tanya sighs. The only way to take them all out is to pray and use the jewel to execute a long-range spell that destroys the planes with one shot. Upon looking for survivors, a corpse begins speaking. It's Being X, asking if she's having a good time. How does it feel to have the whole world at her heels trying to kill her? Tanya uses a powerful spell to locate a nearby observation post, destroying it from a distance. Anson Su, one of the mages that attacked Tanya alone in the north, says goodbye to his family, taking up arms again for the Entente Alliance. Now the commander of Ors Fjord, a natural stronghold. Tanya objects to the plan of a frontal assault on the fjord, suggesting a retreat for the winter and regrouping with more supplies. When asked what she would do, she concludes that using the full frontal is merely a distraction while they send ships in from the rear. Tanya's battalion is chosen for a quick strike to disable the cannons on land so the ships can land safely. But they're not alone. Commander Su shows up with his own mage battalion, becoming enraged at the sight of Tanya, seeking revenge on the Devil of the Rhine. They successfully destroy the cannons and the enemy mages. Tanya personally defeats Su, stealing the new submachine gun his daughter gave him for Christmas as he falls into the icy waters below. With their supply lines bolstered, the Empire is in a perfect position to deliver a decisive blow. Aren City was under Imperial control until a company of Republican mages began to assist the local militia in attempts to retake the city and cut off enemy supply lines, now controlling the city's railway. Tanya and the 203rd receive orders to eradicate the rebellion. Despite the building density and difficult terrain, Strategic Command has a plan. International law states that anyone who does not follow evacuation orders and remains within the city automatically becomes classified as a soldier, even if that means killing civilians. As predicted, the rebels refuse to evacuate, though they are forced into hiding after the 203rd finishes their initial assault. But as soon as they gun down an Imperial prisoner attempting to escape, it creates a catalyst and only serves to justify their actions even more. The Imperial soldiers begin shelling the city indiscriminately, and the remaining Republic mages flee the city, leaving it in the hands of the rebels. Tanya receives the location of some targets, while Second Lieutenant Grants urges her to reconsider. She tells him that the enemy you don't kill will kill you. She makes it clear that he isn't acting on his own morality or ethical decisions, but on the orders given to them as soldiers. Back at Strategic HQ, Zetor confesses that the loosely interpreted applications of international law actually came from the Devil herself, one of Tanya's papers. In the Allied Kingdom, Colonel Su awakens after months in the hospital, claiming that he was given a mission from God to slay a devil. Tanya meets her old captain, Yuger, now a major, on a train ride back to the capital. He reveals the plan to trap the enemy and use one decisive battle to end the war. At the Command Strategy Conference, Zetor elaborates on the operation. He tells Tanya that the 203rd will penetrate beyond the enemy lines to take out the Republican Command HQ in Operation Shock and Awe. Tanya's favorite scientist has devised a rocket, the V1, which will allow mages to break the sound barrier for the first time. The only problem is, you can't steer them. They're literally magic missiles. They launch Tanya and her strike teams, while the Imperial Army launches their feigned retreat, leaving presents behind for the soldiers who believe they're finally pushing the enemy back. Su is enchanting bullets on an Allied Kingdom ship, plotting revenge, eye patch and all. The landing of the V1s is a success. The 3 strike teams prepare to infiltrate their bases. Tanya's team finds the location empty, but the other 2 are successful. They begin their retreat and rendezvous. Operation Shock and Awe is complete. The news reaches Strategic HQ, where prominent figures of Imperial society berate the military about their secret and risky plan, though they begin to place more faith in the remainder of the operation upon hearing of the enemy HQ's destruction. Tanya explains to the 203rd what the stages of the plan are. 1. Operation Fog and Sun. Use propaganda to appear legitimate in their retreat. 2. Operation Shock and Awe. Infiltrate the enemy's headquarters and disable communications. 3. Operation Lockpick. Flank the enemy forces from behind while detonating traps. All three are part of the overarching Operation Revolving Door, the cleanup and resolution, the culmination of a well-executed military operation. The 203rd can't believe how close the end seems to be. They have the enemy right where they want them. The battalion goes to join the fight, catching anyone trying to retreat. Suddenly, they're alerted of multiple magic signatures approaching, mages from the Allied Kingdom, with Sue among their ranks. The 203rd are dropping like flies. Tanya launches a counterattack when Sue begins using his trench gun with the bullets he magically infused. Tanya recognizes Sue while running him through with her bayonet. She's surprised he's still alive after being beaten, rather brutally, at least twice to her knowledge. He tries pulling the same thing she did during their first encounter, self-destruct via his operation jewel, claiming his actions are in the name of God. Victoria fires a round through Sue into Tanya's shoulder, allowing her to break free. She empties a full semi-auto magazine into the mage, using the same gun his daughter gifted him for Christmas. It's not enough. Being X seems to possess him long enough to follow through with his plan to take her with him. But not today. It looks like God works in mysterious ways. She and the majority of the 203rd survive the battle and drive off the rest of the enemy forces. The Imperial forces assume control of the Republican capital without much protest, while the 203rd takes a holiday on a Republic beach. Except for Tanya and Victoria, that is. The devil becomes suspicious. The deal seems too sweet. Not enough souls were sold. She figures that the Republic Army is reconvening at the port to evacuate with the remainder of the forces, then launch a counteroffensive. The war isn't quite over just yet, but she's the only one of that mindset, as her requests to take action are vehemently denied, as per the armistice. She heads over to Strategic HQ, but most of the top brass are out prematurely celebrating their victory. The only one willing to hear her out is the only one who's been cautious of the little monster, explaining how the rest of the nations will not stand idly by and accept their victory without retaliation. Despite being illogical, people don't work solely on rationalism. Humans are emotional beings and often act based on them alone. Their conversation is interrupted. The birth of the Free Republic is only the beginning. The Empire needs to be careful not to allow the rest of the enemy nations to organize and unite against them. There's a need for discretion and less obvious shows of force. They send the 203rd down to the southern continent. Meanwhile, in the US, Sue's daughter Mary signs up for the draft, swearing vengeance in the name of God. Arriving near Tunis, Tanya gives a speech to her battalion. She denounces God. War is proof of his existence and his failure. She challenges Being X once again, refusing to give in and worship the self-proclaimed deity. It's time for war. Thank you for listening until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this.